last 24 to 48 hours. LeBron James weighing in. I don't think he's saying anything groundbreaking or earth-shattering here, but when LeBron talks, everybody listens, particularly in the world of sports. And LeBron is essentially saying, like it or not, we live in a disparate democracy.
We live in two Americas. Prime example of that yesterday. And if you don't understand that or don't see that after seeing what you saw yesterday, then you really need to take a step back, not even just one step, maybe 4 or 5 or even 10 steps backwards, and ask yourself, how do you want your kids, or how do you want your grandkids, how do we want America to be viewed as? How do we want to live, in this beautiful country? Because yesterday was not it.
Sorry, Keith.
I mean, he's speaking the truth, man. I mean, we talk about it. We keep talking about it. We ain't going nowhere, and he's just telling the truth. It's something that we continue to deal with, and hopefully we'll just, we'll get through it, man. That's all I can say. Hopefully we'll get there.
Jay?
2 quick points. Number one, Jaylen Brown said this the other day. It's interesting that LeBron said it after Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown said it differently, but the same thing. Didn't get as much attention. But as LeBron says, it is everywhere. And just go back to your point yesterday, Zubin. I mean, we stopped. We listened to LeBron James. The world kind of listens to LeBron James. So, it goes back to your point yesterday. The world does stop to listen to a subset of athletes.
Indeed. We'll see what happens moving forward. I think we know there's a ton of progress to be made, but as Jay said, when LeBron talks, everybody listens, and he has been talking on every single issue, weighing in with the latest yesterday, and we had it for you here this morning. On the way, we want to hear from you. Back to the NFL. Which quarterback has the most pressure heading into Wild Card Weekend? It's your call. 888-SAY-ESPN.
Good morning, guys. If you thought last week the Browns were at a disadvantage because of their COVID cases, consider this worst case scenario in some ways. Kevin Stefanski not able to be on the sidelines. Ronnie Harrison, their safety, he just tested positive. We're going to find out later today whether the facility will be open for the first time this week. Guys have not practiced. Baker Mayfield said yesterday he hasn't thrown a football since Sunday, the last time I covered them against the Steelers. He hasn't thrown a football because they haven't been able to practice. So if you're a Browns fan, there's a lot to be worried about when you consider how many guys are now on the reserve COVID-19 list. Left guard Joel Bitonio, the longest tenured Brown. There are two top starting corners, Kevin Johnson, Denzel Ward. This is, when you talk about against all odds, that's what this Browns team feels like. But somebody like Jarvis Landry feels like, you know what? Nobody thought we'd win 11 games. Nobody thought we'd turn the Browns around this season. Nobody thought we'd make the playoffs. So we're trying to win this game for the guys who cannot play on Sunday.
Kimberly, what is the A. Martin? How you doing this morning?
He can't help himself, Kim. He can't help himself.
How are the Browns feeling just with everything that they're dealing with, the COVID situation? They haven't been in the building. Like, there's a lot going on right now. So how are they feeling as a whole?
Well, I know when Stefanski first tested positive, that news broke, I texted some guys and, they were shocked. They were like, I can't believe it. Coach always has a mask. Like, I have no idea. Him of all people, I can't believe he tested positive. I think publicly, they're going to say what Kevin Stefanski has said all season. And, I talked to Kevin Stefanski on the phone the night before their Week 17 game against the Steelers. And he says, look, when I first was hired, I told them the message all season has to be, you've got to hit the curveball. And he joked, like, I don't know why I'm using a baseball analogy for these football players, but it seems fitting based on what we knew we were going to face in 2020. Clearly, the Browns did not expect all of this, and neither did we. But they, Kevin Stefanski told me on the phone, like, look, the goal is for these guys to start thinking like me. And that's why I take so much time thinking about what I'm going to say to them, because it's about us. It's not about anybody else. We have the preparation. If you're, with the virtual Zooms and the virtual walkthroughs, that should be enough. But you cannot feel good when you're going into a playoff game. If you're Baker Mayfield, this is a huge game and you haven't thrown a football. It's Friday. The game is in 2 days and you haven't thrown a football yet. because of COVID. That's not a good feeling, but clearly they have no choice. They've got to go out and try to win.
Yeah, that'll be a run-heavy game. Speaking of trying to win, the Houston Texans are trying to lose. That's what they're trying to do, right? They done messed around. They done messed around and made their franchise quarterback mad. What are the possibilities and the chances that not them, but he could want to move on from the Houston Texans?
Well, I'm sure in the heat of the moment, you know, when management or your employer, you feel like they did you wrong, you're like, I want out of here. Get me out. You know, if I was upset with ESPN, which I'm not, by the way, in case my bosses are listening, but if I were upset with my employer, I'd be like, get me out of here. But you know what? You have a contract. And guess what? They can't move you until they want to move you. I think for me, it's what's the end game here? You know, where unless another team gives up what the Texans want and more.
Let me ask you this though, Kim.
Moot in a way.
Let me ask you this: you said unless the Texans give up, wouldn't you think a handful of teams plus would give them whatever they want for one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the National Football League?
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that if you're Jacksonville, you're sitting there with the first pick. Are you looking at Deshaun, a proven commodity? You know exactly what you're getting. You're getting a guy who will carry his team on his back with no pieces. Each week they are always competitive. You might say, you know what? I know what Deshaun is. We could get Lawrence, but I don't know. That's not a proven NFL commodity. You can make a case for that. However, also, Nick Caserio just got this job. This is a franchise that traded away DeAndre Hopkins in a stunner of a trade that we're like, what were they thinking? They're not going. Deshaun Watson is the only sure thing you have. So moving him makes zero sense. What they're doing now makes no sense, but if they were to move him, it makes none, because then you're saying we literally have nothing here. And this is a team with no cap space and no first or second round picks this year.
Kim, entering wildcard weekend, which QB do you think is facing the most pressure?
I was going first take last week, and I said if the Browns make the playoffs, it would be Baker. Because if Lamar were to lose in the playoffs or not make the playoffs, we still go into the 2021 season saying, Lamar's pretty good. I don't know if he can win in the big game, but he's pretty good. And the Ravens would be a team to beat in the AFC off the bat. But now with COVID, I don't. It's going to be tough for Baker Mayfield to even win this weekend. And obviously the Ravens, clearly, I'm going to switch my pick because COVID made me switch my pick. I'm going to say Lamar now because you're facing the Titans team that has beaten you. You need to change the narrative that you can't win the big game. I think he's capable of it. This is a different Ravens team in the later part of the season, winning 5 in a row. For them not to beat the Titans, I think it would be a big disappointment.
And we'll get to witness that on Sunday afternoon. Ravens, Titans, ESPN, ABC, megacast all over it. Key will be in the film room. All eyes on Lamar trying to win that first postseason game, with Key obviously saying that's a little bit of a stretch here. Key, you've always said he's just a young dude.
Yeah, Peyton Manning went 0-3 in his first 3 tries. So,
and that's where Lamar would be with a loss this weekend.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good, right?
No, it doesn't. Kim will look for your reporting Sunday night after it's all over, and divisional weekend will be set after the game you cover is done. Sunday night, the Browns and the Steelers doing it for the 3rd time this season.
Kim, what's the A for again, Kim?
I was about to say, Jay,
here we go.
All right, guys,
I'm still going for the A.
I'm still
Love
you.
you.
All right, so Kimberly A. Martin with Stephen